K98 Talk is expanding its lineup for 2015. This means we are expanding our advertising base. Whether you're a startup trying to push through to the next level or an established business trying to supplement your advertising budget, web-based advertising is a solid investment. Thanks to Talk's newest partnership with TuneIn Radio and instant access to our sister station, K98 FM, we give you worldwide access at a reasonable cost. Interested parties should email us at sales@k98fm.com.
Wondering why you're up early with us on a Sunday morning making a cocktail? News lately got you drinking? Hungover from the mainstream media by Sunday? We are, and we got you covered.
We sure do. We got your hangover cure for those weekly news blues. So sit back, top off your mimosa, and add some Baileys to that coffee.
Take a match to your copy of the New York Times. Light, funny, and oh yeah, news with booze.
And a lot of laughter.
Welcome to Bloody Marys and Broadsheets. In a good, easy Sunday morning, June 15th, 2015, it's JD and Stacey, and you want to know what, folks? You want to know what? Stacey, I'm going to tell you something.
Okay.
I can't lie to them. I don't care if it's 11 a.m. Sunday morning. JD is not having an easy Sunday morning, so everybody put some booze in your coffee, and let's wake up, kids. Mighty Sunday morning! If the kids haven't woken you up, JD and Stacey will. That's better. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Bloody Marys and Broadsheets with JD and Stacey here on K98 Talk. Get yourself over to K98Talk.com right now. Get in the chat room. Today, Stacey and I are very pleased to be bringing to you an interview with Mr. Guy Benson, co-author of Mary Katherine Hamm of End of Discussion, How the Left's Outrage Industry Shuts Down Debate, Manipulates Voters, and Makes America Less Free. We're going to be talking about Hillary 3.0, baby, and that relaunch. We're going to be talking about machination circuitry and all sorts of things with the TAA. And what is the black broad, white broad, beige broad, don't know, parents, white, black, NAACP? Yeah, you know.
The head of the Seattle NAACP?
Yeah, what's Tupac mama name?
Rachel Dolezal.
No, Tupac, Dead Pac, his mama.
I have no idea.
Yes. No, Chicago. His mother is a terrorist on the watch list. That's what we. This is where my mind is. I mean, it's just been one of those Sunday mornings. But, how's your week been, lady?
My week has been crazy busy leading up to the vote on Friday, trying to get people to understand that TPA is not a good thing, and I am all for free trade. TPA actually boils down to forced trade, so a lot of communications around that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I completely missed the news on the back half of the week, so I had to do some catching up.
Oh, really? Is this on me now?
It's totally on you.
Nah, I can deal with it. Oh, here it is. This is what I was looking for. Is this what we're talking about later in the end of the show? Harper Valley PTA? Or is that TPP?
I wanna tell you all the stuff. Well, let me put it this way. The circus that Speaker Boehner presided over was phenomenal.
Isn't it always, though?
Exactly.
So we have this fantastic interview to bring to the audience. Oh, and everybody, of course. How you enjoy all of this spectaculousness on K98 Talk is you find Stacey and I live Tuesday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern Time for Game On. We're live again Thursday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern Time for Game On. 11 a.m. on Sunday mornings for that Bloody Marys and Broadsheets, baby. Your mainstream cure for... What are we curing on Sundays?
The mainstream media hangover.
Oh, yes. That's it. But before we get to the interview, of course, it's time for... time for your weekend update for the week ending June 14th, 2015, brought to you by that Mr. Eric Williams of the BarbedWireSatire.com. Open another window in the browser and get over there right now. Former White House Press Secretary Robert Gibbs has been hired as Executive Vice President at McDonald's and tasked with turning the restaurant into a modern, progressive hamburger joint. Great. Now we'll have a McDonald's chain that won't be honest with us and what's in their food, but will always be able to put the best spin on whatever it is they're serving us.
President Obama asked this week for strategic patience in dealing with the terror group ISIS. The president's strategic patience plan involves waiting until January 2017 when a new American leader takes over and then has to deal with a stronger ISIS. Mr. Obama thanks you in advance for your patience.
You know, this isn't part of the bit, but I'm going to say it. Obama's an idiot. New York City Mayor Comrade de Blasio is skipping Hillary's latest coming out party this weekend on Roosevelt Island when she will remind everyone again that she's running for president. Comrade de Blasio said it's not that he can't stand the witch, it's just that he knows he would oversleep and show up late for it anyway.
The social media world was honored this week when Hillary Clinton finally joined Instagram. Her first post was a picture of a rack of colored pantsuits with the caption, "Hard Choices," underneath it. We understand those are really hard choices for her, which is why it's best to leave the really hard choices in 2016 to a Republican.
We've talked about this. Don't ever say Hillary Clinton and Iraq. Wisconsin Rep Paul Ryan has become the latest incarnation of Nancy Pelosi with his line, "You'll get to see what's in Obama trade after it passes. For you Republican voters going forward, this means we'll just have to elect our reps before we can know how they're going to screw us."
All news for Caucasian Rachel Dolezal is not bad news, despite all the heat she is taking on social media for living a lie as a black woman. Netflix has already approached the poser about starring in her own original series, White is the New Black.
Putting his best spin on the obvious defeat for the president after the trade deal was halted for the time being, White House spokesman Josh Earnest called the rebuke nothing more than a procedural snafu, just like the president's election and re-election. And that's been your weekend update brought to you by that Mr. Eric Williams of the BarbedWireSatire.com, baby. Now, without further ado, oh, yes, and for those of you who don't know who Dolezal is, you're going to want to stick around because this woman is some piece of work. After Guy Benson in the break, we're going to be talking the Hillary relaunch, the presidential TAA machination. But right now, everybody sit back, relax, welcome Guy Benson, co-author with Mary Katherine Hamm of End of Discussion. As always, get over to Amazon right now and be buying this book while you be listening.
Welcome back to your Easy Sunday morning. And today with us, we have Guy Benson, who is a Fox News contributor and writer. Guy is also a political editor at townhall.com. And even though he graduated from Northwestern, I still really like him. His co-author, Mary Katherine Hamm, is a Fox News contributor and writer and editor at large for Hot Air. In 2014, she was the American Conservative Union's Blogger of the Year. And I love that she graduated from the University of Georgia in my home state. Together, they have co-authored a book called The End of the Discussion, How the Left's Outrage Industry Shuts Down Debate, Manipulates Voters, and Makes America Less Free and Fun. So today to the show, I'd like to welcome Guy Benson. Unfortunately, Mary Katherine was not able to join us. Guy, I loved this book.
Well, thank you so much. It's really encouraging to hear that because when you pour your life into a project for a year, and you think that you have something important to say on an important subject, it is just really exciting to hear feedback from people who have read the product and enjoy it. You know, you're sort of on pins and needles like, oh, my gosh, are people going to like the book? And so thank you for saying it.
Well, kids, honestly, I sat down and I started reading it, and I wasted a complete day that I had other stuff to do because once I opened it, I could not put it down. So shoot the lock off your wallet.
That was not a waste.
It was not a waste, but shoot the lock off your wallet and go buy this book because if you are an activist on social media, if you participate in social media in a particular way, especially political, you will completely understand what Guy and Mary Katherine term as the anatomy of an outrage. I read that and I almost cried.
Yeah, so we describe in End of Discussion a number of phenomena. The overall thesis of the book is describing and sort of identifying what we see as primarily the left in this country increasingly seeking to win cultural and political debates by preventing those debates from actually happening. they don't want to engage opposing viewpoints on the merits, on the equal playing field, and defeat them on substance. They want to disqualify and delegitimize and bully and silence their opposition as a much sort of like a demagogic shortcut to winning. And we think this is toxic. We think it is bad for the country. And one of the biggest ways that they do this is by engaging in this sort of this fake outrage. We call it the outrage circus, that will seize on something that suits their agenda and turn it into a huge controversy by trying to take the person or the institution at the center of that controversy and basically ruin their reputation to the greatest extent possible, rather than engaging that person's ideas.
Well, you actually broke it down into an incredible process, which made me go, wow, that's it. I used to just call it shut-uppery, which is a much bigger simplification. But you went through an entire chapter about leveraging the word racist and talking about how the word racist is the most awful thing somebody can be called. And I think that's the chapter in which you gave the very specific example around Juan Williams, who is also a contributor at Fox, who is, oddly enough, a Democrat, tends to be more liberal, and also himself a minority. Me personally, what I'm kind of seeing is that levying that charge against a conservative is becoming less and less impactful just because it's been used so much. Are you seeing maybe the same sort of thing?
Well, I mean, I think that they might stop doing it if they think it is losing its impact. Unfortunately, at least with a significant chunk of the population, it is not losing its impact, and that's why they keep doing it. And so in that particular chapter, the dog whistle whisperers is what we call it, because the meaning of that is we talk about this term dog whistles, where the left claims that all of these words and terms that are used to describe President Obama or other things are sort of secretly racist. There's a subtext that's racist, and therefore you can't say them. And the list of these words is just absurd. Golf, Chicago, the list goes on and on. And so we did talk to Juan Williams. One of the things that we think is a strength of end of discussion was that we went through and did some actual sort of deep reporting and analysis to expose how the outrage industry is organized and works. And that was, as you mentioned, the chapter, The Anatomy of an Outrage. And we talked to Paul Ryan because he was at the center of one of them. We did a whole series of interviews with people, some of them very prominent, some of them not prominent at all, really getting their take on when this machine was unleashed against them. And Juan was gracious enough to grant us an interview, and he said it was one of the shocks of his life that he was hounded out of his job at NPR over something that he said, over a thought crime, and it happened at the hands of the left. And as a man of the left, who wept with joy when Barack Obama was inaugurated, he said, the biggest shock is that it is my own side that is now the culprit in this. They are the ones that are escalating this problem. It's on us. It is not a conservative problem. And one other quick example on the race issue that I'll give, because this one really bothers me. How often do we hear from Democrats and other people that the opposition to President Obama is unprecedented in nature? And they constantly come back to this talking point, which is basically saying, look, these crazy racist Republicans, no one has ever opposed a president like this before. This knee-jerk reflexive opposition, it has to be because, look, it's the color of his skin. There's a racial element to this. It's a dark thing. And we just go through point by point how that is absolutely untrue. The opposition to President Obama is not remotely unprecedented. It is deeply precedented, going back all the way to 2008 and before that with President Bush. And we also remind the left, hey, do you guys remember what happened in 1998 when Republicans impeached Bill Clinton, a white Southern man? Like, come on, this is such a bogus argument that they advance. And the reason is they want to disqualify opposition to Obama, tarring it as racist, as a substitute for actually grappling with the points people are making against Obama, whether you agree with those points or not.
But using the word racist and race as a weapon, in my mind, And we're speaking with Guy Benson, co-author of End of Discussion, with Mary Katherine Hamm, who we understand he has tied up and put in the basement because he wants the whole interview just to himself. Is this right, Guy?
That is inaccurate.
No, we're just kidding. He was kind enough to shoulder this on his own while Mary Katherine had to step for an emergency. But what I wanted to circle back to is I think they almost use race as a pretext to. Reading the book, it really brings to mind a point that I've been trying to make for a long time, and that's that conservatives see all these cultural clashes as one-offs and fires to be put out and dealt with, whereas the left has literally weaponized its dissent, and they treat each policy debate as a take-no-prisoners war. Do you both see this the same way, and how far behind do you see the right in recognizing the fact that these are not just, oh, gay marriage, okay, deal with that. Oh, immigration, deal with that, and then I got to go back to work and, take the kids to soccer practice. How far behind is the right on that curve?
Yeah, well, that's the problem. The professional left is just that. It is professional, it is ruthless, and they also have the advantage of amplification because the left controls so many of the crucial cultural institutions in America, whether it's much of the media, whether it's almost all of the entertainment industry, whether it is nearly a monopoly on academia. When they weaponize their outrage, they're sort of like the opinion shapers in society are inclined to agree with them ideologically, so they are given more credibility in their outrage mongering than the right is. And we make it very clear in the book, the right is not innocent in all of this nonsense. The right absolutely engages in some of the same behavior from time to time, and we try to call out ourselves individually and our side when we think it's appropriate to do so, because we wanted to write an intellectually honest book that people could enjoy as conservatives, but also give to their moderate and leftist center open-minded friends and challenge them, hey, this is a problem. Because the thing about end of discussion is the problem, that term, the end of the discussion, the terrible state of our national conversation, it is not going to be fixed. It is not going to be mitigated and ameliorated if we conservatives simply vigorously agree with each other and complain to each other. We wrote end of discussion with a tone that, and I hope you guys can attest to this is at least our goal, was to write end of discussion, a very serious book on a very serious topic, nevertheless in a tone that has a light touch, is not a joyless, angry slog to read it, and is actually funny from time to time, because we don't think that, pounding the table and writing an outrage book about outrage is A, a very good idea in the first place, and B, certainly is not going to appeal to some of the people we have to deputize and sort of build bridges with to fight back against this outrage circuit.
Well, staying on that vein, is that even possible? Because if you take a look, you said you wrote the book to have these conversations with open-minded, like-minded people on the left. When you take a look at how much the left, at least as primary voters in polling are concerned, are willing to put aside the issues and not call out the other side, whether it's Clinton Cash or what have you, where the right is prone to do that, is that a weakness for us, where we're prone to call out our own side and the left is more prone to circle their wagons and not be open to having the discussion?
Well, I think that is true of the hard left. And there are people on the hard left and the activist left that will absolutely, positively never be convinced they aren't interested they're a brick wall. But I do believe that there are moderate and leftist center, open-minded people who still at least believe in free expression and free exchange. And I've met a number of them. I am friends and family with a number of them. In fact, here's the thing. Here's a quick story I'll give you behind the scenes a little bit. When we were finishing up the initial manuscript of End of Discussion, I have a very good friend, very close friend, who is quite liberal, who is very well-read, he's smart, and we said, hey, his name's John. John, will you do us a huge favor? Will you do us the honor of reading our manuscript? Because we want to make sure that we are being fair to your side. We want to make sure that there are not any, you're going to disagree, John, with a lot of what we write, but we're just interested in what you think of, the writing, the thesis, and especially, are there any big ideological blind spots that are so glaring that if we were to market this book to some moderates and leftist center people, that they would just laugh in our faces because we were just missing some big stuff. So he read the entire thing for us, which was very kind of him. And guess what? he came back, he said, look, of course we disagree on policies X, Y, and Z, but your thesis really struck a chord with me. You proved your thesis. You did it in a way that was highly enjoyable to read. I laughed out loud several times over the course of the book, and I think this is a really good book. It is well written and fun. But here are 6 recommendations I have for you to make it more effective with people who think the way I think. And we looked at those recommendations, and they were thoughtful, and they were fair, and we incorporated all 6 of them into the final version of End of Discussion. And the book is stronger because of it. It will appeal to more people because of that sort of early vetting process. But we convinced this very liberal friend of mine that at the very least we were onto something, and it was something serious, and it was something serious on his side that he had to sort of grapple with and figure out how he wanted to perhaps resist it from within. And I count that as a big win. That's one person, one anecdote. But the reason I tell it, guys, is because we are hoping that people will go out and buy End of Discussion, enjoy End of Discussion as fellow conservatives, because we are conservative. Our primary audience is conservative. But as I say, simply talking to each other isn't going to cut it when it comes to this issue. And that's why we really wanted to hone this book and sharpen this book and make sure that it gave the best shot at this to convince as many people as we can. Because, look, free expression, free debate, free speech is the lifeblood of America. And when we lose that, we lose the country.
Well, I will say you made a libertarian cackle out loud. One thing I want to congratulate you on is your very specific examples in the book, and you kind of alluded to those. One thing particularly in terms of conservatives and great examples of conservatives winning the war, if you will, you called out both Cory Gardner, the senator from Colorado, as well as Scott Walker, who effectively stood up to the left in messaging and also in really defeating, in terms of Scott Walker, some significant challenges. You're talking an initial election, a recall, and then a re-election. What do you think we can take away and learn from those 2 instances that might help us in 2016?
Yeah, and I think that's a really important point. This is our concluding chapter where we didn't want to just write 9 chapters of, oh my gosh, look at this problem, here are examples. Even if we're writing about it in a funny or a fun way, in an interesting or snarky way, if you're a conservative and you care about the things that we care about, we were worried people would walk away just being depressed reading this book. So we wanted to give a few examples of, hey, look, the outrage circus is not infallible. They can be beaten. And so, as you say, we had exclusive interviews for End of Discussion with Cory Gardner and Scott Walker, who went through the crucible and won. And we asked them, how did you do it? And it was a combination of smart messaging, savvy approach politically, a sunny, optimistic attitude, beating the left in some ways at its own game, and also refusing to be intimidated or cowed by these people and back down and not accept their premises. Those are some of the things that help these guys win these races, in tough swing states. And I think that when people read those interviews and read some of our advice, hopefully there's a more optimistic concluding note for the book in End of Discussion, because we don't want this. We want this book to be the beginning of a national conversation rather than the end of discussion, which is the left goal, the hard left goal.
And when I read that chapter, especially concerning Cory Gardner, one of the funniest parody accounts I ever saw on social media was Mark Uterus making fun of Mark Udall's completely ineffective war on women. I was absolutely hysterical. But when you did get to the end of the book, I actually tweeted this to you the other day because I found it so hysterical. You ask people to join the coalition to chill the hell out. Not everything is a problem. So, I'm kind of seeing that in my own activism at this point. So we have all these hoople heads in McKinney around something that maybe got a little out of hand with kids trespassing at a pool. But we've also got Trade Promotion Authority with the ugly specter of TPP going through with Congress. And so we have this very organized leftist organization creating all kinds of havoc in McKinney, Texas, and distracting a lot of conservatives from what's going on in the House of Representatives on Friday. How do you recommend that conservatives that are truly concerned with maybe the larger issues, to me, a pool party in McKinney is not that big a deal. The kids never should have trespassed, and it never would have gotten out of hand. How do we start to look at the left and go, really get over it?
Well, I think part of what you're getting at here is we have to pick our battle, because we cannot beat the left time after time because they have this big institutional advantage that is not going to change anytime soon. We can't be chasing squirrels around trying to match them outrage for outrage. Matching them outrage for outrage, we will lose, and we will look angry and pathetic doing it because that's the narrative already. So we have to pick our battles and just sort of chill the hell out about something. And that message absolutely applies to the left as well. I mean, good Lord. And when you're in the middle of one of these controversies, that is something that we recommend people always keep in mind. The loud, shouting, quote-unquote, outrage brigades almost always in these circumstances represents a tiny, fractional movement that happens to have a big megaphone and is very loud and organized, but it does not apply and does not represent any significant number of Americans. And we think that there would be some utility in having a coalition to chill the hell out of Americans who say, you know what, we look at this giant supposed controversy and we shrug our shoulders and we move on. And we think that would be a healthy thing in many, many cases in this country for our discourse.
How would you like us to hashtag that on Twitter? Because I'm just dying to use it.
Gosh, I mean, I would recommend, here are my closing recommendations. Hashtag end of discussion. Maybe hashtag chill out. And in the meantime, I would encourage everyone to go to endofdiscussion.com, buy the book, we understand asking people to separate themselves from their hard-earned money is a big ask, and we do so with humility. And we say, look, plunk down, if you would, $40 or $45 instead of $20. Buy a book for yourself, and we hope you enjoy it. Everyone listening has someone in their life who is not a completely lost cause on the left, but is just frustrated. They seem to buy into the nonsense a lot, even though they're a smart person and a nice person, a little bit open-minded when it comes to certain things. Everyone knows someone like that. Buy this book for that person, because they are just as much as conservative. They are our audience.
We have had the great privilege of speaking with Guy Benson, co-author with Mary Katherine Hamm of End of Discussion, available right now at Amazon, endofdiscussion.com. Fine book retailers everywhere. Worth the read, definitely worth the money. And listen, folks, it is worth it alone for the William F. Buckley Jr. quote up front. Liberals claim to want to give a hearing to other views, but then are shocked and offended to discover that there are other views. Guy, thank you so much for joining us, and we hope you consider coming back again.
My pleasure. Thank you so much. Thank you for reading the book and some really thoughtful questions.
Thank you, Guy.
Take care.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
The staff of K98 Talk and the Spark Radio Network is proud to announce that our very own Rowdy Rick Robinson has been selected as one of the top conservative talk show hosts in the nation for his program, America Off the Rails. Again, congratulations to Rowdy Rick Robinson for a job well done and another reason to stay connected to K98 Talk and the Spark Radio Network.
If you like your health care plan, you'll be able to keep your health care plan. This is the most transparent administration in history. Not even a smidgen of corruption.
Fact is, we had 4 dead Americans. What difference at this point does it make?
If you got a business, you didn't build that.
The feeling most people get when they hear Barack Obama's speech, I felt this thrill going up my leg. I don't have that too often.
Steady.
It's time to hear the truth about America's biggest challenges. Ricky Robinson, host of America Off the Rails, will tackle the important issues facing America today as he tries to keep America from coming off the track. Get ready to hear the truth every Monday through Friday starting at 7 p.m. Eastern
6 Central, here on K98Talk.com and the Spark Radio Network.
Welcome to the face. Welcome to the face of the new democracy.
Red Nation Rising brings you Town Hall Radio.
From a single tweet to 3 million a month, our community is a force to be reckoned with on social media.
So don't miss our show, Thursdays, 8 p.m. Eastern on K98 Talk.
Our chat room is our co-host, and you ask the question.
Join us and be heard.
So get ready to sound off on Red Nation Rising Radio. No one else is going to do it for you.
There's a wild, wild whisper blowing in the wind, calling out my name like a long lost friend.
This is JD and Stacey with K98 Talk. We're here to talk to you about TPA. You may have called it Fast Track, TPA, or Trade Authority. Whatever it is called, it is a terrible idea and is coming up for a vote as early as June 11th.
Barack Obama is negotiating the Trans-Pacific Partnership under an unprecedented veil of secrecy. Our congressmen who view it are threatened with legal action if they disclose details of the documents to the American public.
Fast Track or Trade Promotion Authority, if passed, will prevent Congress from making amendments, debating the provisions, and allow passage of trade agreements with a simple majority.
There is no conservative case for Fast Track Trade Promotion Authority. Our systems of checks and balances demands that Congress weigh and debate trade agreements, demand that Congress does their job.
For information about Trade Promotion Authority and what it really means, visit coalitionforastrongamerica.com and then call your congressman and demand they vote no on TPA when it comes to the floor of the House. This has been a public service announcement by JD and Stacey of K98 Talk.
K98Talk.com, a leader in Internet radio. So grab your seatbelts and take the ride of your life on K98Talk.com.
And welcome back, everybody, here with JD and Stacey on K98 Talk for the last half hour of Bloody Marys and Broadsheets, your cure for your weekly mainstream media hangover. I think we have to give a very, very big thank you for Guy Benson for being gracious enough with his time for the interview. Folks, it's not just because he was on the show. Stacey and I both mean it. End of Discussion is a great book. Mary Katherine Hamm was so gracious. What did she have? See, this is the difference between, you know what, Stacey? Here's the difference between liberals and conservatives, right?
Yes.
So what did Guy tell us when he came on, like right before we went live? He said that Mary Katherine Hamm couldn't apologize profusely enough. She had a baby emergency because she's a mom. Now, if she was a liberal, she would have had baby mama drama instead, right?
Oh, whatever. Yes. But again, going back to the book, strongly recommend it. My favorite part of it is they do such a good job of taking the majority of the narrative on the left, which, oh, by the way, was completely repeated in Hillary's relaunch speech, and really tear it down issue by issue.
Wait, what did Hillary do?
Oh, Hillary reannounced her campaign.
Okay,
again.
terrific.
Yeah.
Wait, what did she do?
What did she do? She made a speech.
Where?
Roosevelt Island in Roosevelt Park.
Right. Now, official campaign headquarters, of course, in the...
No sleep till!
Hillary 3.0, baby.
Telling you.
Here's the best part.
She alluded, and this is guys why you should listen to this show, because we actually will watch things like the Hillary speech and tell you all about them so that you don't have to. It was absolutely painful to watch all 48 minutes of it.
Okay, terrific.
Followed, I'm not doing my drinking this morning. My beverage is completely devoid of anything alcoholic, but I could have used some serious alcohol after listening to her.
We actually had the K98 Talk news team out there who actually caught some audio of people right after Hillary's 3.0 relaunch speech. What did this gentleman have to say?
Boring.
Yeah, that was pretty much the consensus.
Pretty much. Well, people asked her campaign, most notably Mr. Podesta, is this a reattempt to frame her issues? He said, why no, of course not. The last 2 months have been spring training. This is like opening day. So she stands up in Roosevelt Park on Roosevelt Island, which we've already said you can't drive a car onto, so it was a little difficult to get to. And Roosevelt Island in the park was basically transformed in the 1930s as a memorial to Franklin Delano Roosevelt, a New Deal Democrat.
Thank you, Robert Moses, baby. Don't be checking that Power Broker out by Robert Carroll. Be telling you all that good stuff.
Yeah, it's been known as Welfare Island. It has a fake forest.
Were you just about to say Wife Island?
No, I said Welfare Island.
I know, but I thought you were going to say Wife Island, and I'm like, well, if we're talking politics, wouldn't it be like ex-wife island?
Yeah, something like that. It's replete with a fake forest, some really ugly apartments. They have refurbished an insane asylum into high-end condos. And the park itself has an abandoned smallpox hospital. So really, really cheerful place.
Let me tell you something. I find smallpox so much more cheerful than Hillary Clinton trying to do retail politics. She really does. She has got a look on her face.
She's the worst.
Listen, either she eats 5-day-old Dominoes right before a camera goes on her all the time. I mean, this woman looks like she has gas that she is holding in from her ass cheeks, popping out her eyeballs every time she talks with the bobble. But on a more serious note, the one thing that that caught me flat-footed, and this is something I had no intention of getting into, Carly Fiorina, folks, put her on your radar. Sleeper candidate answering questions. You think about everything that the Republicans have had. Marco Rubio, 4 traffic tickets in 17 years, and the wife had 13. He had student loans and bought a 24-foot boat, which is, a fishing boat. This is the third formal relaunch of her campaign. If you think about the logistics and you think about the setup and everything else, the campaign is already 7 figures in to launching, and this is the third version. Yet when you saw the news coverage of it yesterday, it is they are considering this vapid, empty, red meat to the base, third relaunch to reconnect because she's not a real human being robot speech. This is the first major speech that Hillary Clinton has given since she announced. And it's her third re-announce. Scott Walker has not announced that he's running for president. And about 3 or 4 months ago, when he was over in England, what was that sandbag question they had him on? Was it a personhood amendment or something about abortion?
No, it was what do you call it?
See, listen, when I don't know,
the opposite of evolution, teaching creationism. That's what it was.
Okay, so whatever.
Do you believe in evolution?
Right. So whatever kind of Jerry Falwell trap they were trying to have him fall into. But my whole point is the man hasn't even announced yet. Mm-hmm. Yet Hillary Clinton, on the third iteration of her launch, gets away with saying that she gave a major speech, and it's her "I'm running to save you" speech, and she literally talked about loving her mom. Listen, lady, we all know you're the devil, but we still think you loved your mother.
Exactly. But, I mean, let's break it down a little bit. There was a lot of illusion at play here, right? So Franklin Delano Roosevelt being a great big New Deal Democrat, people associate with him with a ton of social welfare programs and support programs in government, right? So she takes her speech and turns it into the 4 fights to allude to the 4 freedoms that the park is named after. It's apparent she knew absolutely nothing about what the 4 freedoms that Roosevelt actually talked about were, because it was leading up to a major world war. He was talking about freedom of speech. We all know how much the left loves that. Freedom to worship God in their own way. Okay. Hillary has already said that Christianity needs to reform itself. Freedom from want and freedom from fear.
Want,
so the closest she got was freedom from want.
Wait, want, W-O-N-T, or want, W-A-N-T?
W-A-N-T.
We are so screwed. We are so screwed.
No, that was Roosevelt. What Hillary talked about was making the economy. These are her 4 fights because she's such a fighter. She's such a fighter.
She didn't take a position on the TPA bill.
No, people showed up in no Hillary T-shirts. The campaign asked them to turn them inside out, and people actually complied.
I'm going to tell you something. Everybody in the audience, feel free to punch square in the face anybody who ever walks up to you and tells you how you should or shouldn't be wearing something. And at that point, drop your pants, moon them, and give everybody the double bird. These people out of their minds.
There's actually pictures on social media. Stop Hillary with a big stop sign and a line through it, and then the after pictures, they turn their shirts inside out. So the woman who is going to fight for you can't even see dissent on a T-shirt. Really? So her 4 fights: make the economy work for everyday Americans. And she actually hearkened back to the economy under her husband's administration, not Barack Obama's. Strengthening everyday American families. The fight to harness all of America's power and smarts and values to maintain our leadership for peace, security, and prosperity, and reforming government and revitalizing democracy.
You know, this woman is completely out of her mind. She's trying to now attach herself to her. Could you imagine the sexist, nonsensical? All right. So you can't attach anything that Bill Clinton did personally to the Empress of Chappaqua, right? You can't, because when you do that, she'll tell you basically,
you can act like a man. What's the matter with you?
But she can take credit for the Clinton economy under his watch. All right? Let's set the record straight. She failed on health care. She wouldn't blow him. And they stayed married so she could become senator. Those were her 3 accomplishments in 8 years as first lady. So
her major theme was really the fact that under her husband's administration, people were better off, incomes rose, et cetera, et cetera. If you remember the contract with America, that was actually how a lot of that happened.
Of course,
and that was a bunch of Republicans.
Listen, Dick Morris, for as crazy and off the reservation as he seems, I mean, I like Dick Morris. I find him entertaining, but I think that he's in Florida losing his marbles and becoming irrelevant. But, you know, you have to give people their due. I mean, he was really the architect of a lot of that, because he was the one who understood triangulation. And this to me, and this is where the press is, this is where this woman is going to get so much free press and run with this. They're going to conflate Bill Clinton with Hillary Clinton. Bill Clinton, you may not have agreed with his policies, was a pretty principled guy. And at the end of the day,
politically.
You know what? Yes, excuse me. Do you know what drove Bill Clinton every day to get out of bed besides banging somebody who wasn't his wife?
What?
And stealing money from people. Basically was to govern. Like, there are some kids who, every day, like, I wanted to be a nose tackle for the New York Jets, and every kid's got a dream. They want to be an astronaut. They want to be a fire engine, or whatever the hell they want to be. Yes, the crazy kids want to be fire engines. But Bill Clinton really wanted to govern. And you may not agree with him politically. I don't. He has some ideology. We all do. But at the end of the day, the guy sat down and got things done. And he was a smart look. Bill Clinton and the Democratic Party was smarter than the Republicans through the 90s, because Clinton was smart enough to take credit for a lot of things that Newt Gingrich and the House, with the Contract of America, twisted his arm to. But the problem with our guys is they've sat there for the last 20 years and go, well, conservatives know what we did with the Contract of America. Yeah, but then Bill Clinton goes out there, takes credits, and you idiots go, well, moral victory is we knowing we're right. No, jerks, because now it's 20 years later, and Kankles is out there because you guys never put yourself up powerful enough to take the credit going, my husband, Bill. I mean, you got to be kidding me with this woman. I mean, just lie after lie after lie after lie. What was the last thing she told the truth about? Whether or not she had to take a dump?
I have no idea, but the speech really focused on so many tired conservative memes and a lot of the things that were actually in the book we just discussed with Guy Benson. War on women, income inequality. Republicans don't want minorities and disabled people to vote. I mean, just absolute
dirty
insanity.
water. Yeah,
After listening to her speech, you would think we don't have the Voting Rights Act. You would think that there are people systematically in this country that are denied the right to vote. For some reason, she believes minorities are somehow less able to get ID than the rest of us. I think that's insulting. And basically she focused on all of her accomplishments on her time as senator. Completely ignored Secretary of State.
You have to understand something, Stacey. This never was about what's good for the country. This is what's about what's good for Hillary. Her mother, who she talked about in the last speech, told her a long time ago, "As the release palabras had a bill fango," which means stay with that brain-dead cracker. He'll get you places.
But, I mean, this is exactly what she's doing. You know, this is what I don't understand. Not that I don't understand it, but what the media is letting her get away with on this relaunch. You made the point about it before. Take a look at the cast of characters who's surrounding her and suggesting the relaunches and how to do it and what policy position she should be coming out, how far to the left she should be running. Because the one thing that Barack Obama has accomplished, he did accomplish something on the left that was Ronald Reagan-like. In the last 6 years, he has pulled the Democratic Party at least as far to the left as Reagan was able to take the Rockefeller Republicans and move them to the right in his 8 years. Now, you look at Podesta. You look at the other bagman apologist. I mean, he seems like a nice Lanny Davis.
Axelrod?
No. Lanny Davis. This is now we're back to Clinton world. And you look at the people that are around her. These are people that have been there since she was in the White House in the 90s. So I'm going to tell everybody in the audience right now. I know Slickery Trigger is listening, a good friend of ours from social media on Twitter, and he's always out there in the chat room. He's got himself, you know what, I'm going to have to apologize. Slick, if you're listening, put it up in the chat room to Stacey about where they can find your YouTube video post. So here's a guy out there who has something to say, and he does it publicly. Anybody out there who writes, does a video blog, stuck in traffic with somebody who disagrees with you, start making the point to anybody who's blindly talking about Hillary Clinton and she loves the middle class and she's good for people and her husband, that she's nothing but a retread. If everybody thinks that what's been going on in this country the last 15 or 20 years is fine, then fine, they're idiots. Let them vote however they want. But a majority of people in this country are looking for change. They're looking for something different. Make the point. This woman is not it. If you look at everybody running on the Republican side, her advisors reach back the furthest with maybe the exception of Jeb Bush.
Oh, yeah, the radio gods are good. We're going to be talking about him on Tuesday.
We got isn't Clownshowsaurus Rex? When is he making an announcement? He's still talking to Trump, the idiot. On when is this?
I thought it was Tuesday.
Is he Tuesday too?
I think so.
Or is he the Tuesday announce? Or is it he's Tuesday, Christie's Thursday?
I haven't heard a date for Christie yet. I just hear his family's ready.
Oh, his family's ready?
Yeah, he bought him donuts.
Well, listen, Donald. If you're listening, just for you.
Don't.
You're fired. 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 You're fired.
And we have breaking audio from Donald Trump after a long weekend in Atlantic City. We're going to have to follow up on this.
Those men wanted to have sex with me.
We'll get back to that. Okay.
And I guess we can resurface our favorite early clip this week too, which should be fun. So, my biggest, back to Hillary just before we wrap it up, my biggest issues is, the press pretty much called her out for stating absolutely zero positions without some pretty in-depth polling data, and she took no stance on current hot-button issues. Nothing about trade with the hoopla that just went on in the House. Nothing about what's going on in the Middle East. She actually said she stood up to Putin, which made me literally laugh out loud. And then she structured these watching parties across Iowa, which the press totally panned because they would go into somebody's living room and there'd be like 3 people So it was just a circus.
You think?
Mm-hmm.
You think?
They had an overflow area that was empty.
Oh,
they didn't get nearly the number of people they thought they were going to get.
Listen, we're going to be talking Hill and Bill until somebody dies, goes to jail, or gets elected president again. There'll be plenty of time for these thieving people. Forget about them. But being that you bring up circusry, this will be one of the few times that I promise when you bring up circusry, I will not bring up midgets.
Okay, good.
But there was some acrobatics in the house with our morons at the end of this week.
Oh, my God. All right. So I've had to explain this to a lot of people.
Go ahead.
There's a whole strategy to this that completely backfired on both President Obama and Speaker John Boehner, and they are trying to do everything they can to get around it.
They stink on ice.
Exactly. So we've all heard of Trade Promotion Authority, TPA, and TPP, which is the actual Trans-Pacific Partnership, or the deal that's being negotiated with a number of other countries. TPA came up for a vote on Friday.
Seeing as how the VP is such a VIP, shouldn't we keep the PC on the QT? Because if it leaks to the VC, you can end up an MIA, and then we'd all be put on KP.
I just did that so people knew what you were talking about.
Okay. So TPA, Trade Promotion Authority, also known as Fast Track, came up for a vote in 3 sections on Friday. The first section is TAA. What TAA is all the public assistance we're going to give to people who lose their jobs because of trade.
Right.
TPA is what we need to pass so we can create millions of jobs. That's the actual Trade Promotion Authority and the actual process by which any trade agreement would go through Congress.
Because let's empower Obama as the executive with more power to create jobs, because he's created so many in the last 6 years, right?
Well, fast food. But anyway, TPA outlines the process. It also is supposed to outline what is called negotiating authority or negotiating priorities. So the deal, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, is supposed to be done by the end of this month, and Congress is just now going to give Obama negotiating priorities. Makes me want to laugh out loud. And those negotiating priorities have 0 teeth. We have nothing to protect us from currency manipulation, no protection about having to do business with bad actors who do things like child trafficking and beheading Christians and a whole bunch of other really nasty stuff and just gross human rights violations. So we end up actually losing our ability to punish bad actors through economic sanctions should they join this agreement. And I think something like 8 of the 12 worst human trafficking countries in the world are part of this negotiation, just as an example. What happened is the TAA, or the assistance we're going to give to people who lose their job as a result of trade, Obama basically, according to Krauthammer, got a dead fish in the face. He came and talked to the entire Democratic caucus, begged them to pass this piece of legislation, and there was such a resounding bucking of his authority, you could hear it echo in the chamber. The vote was over 300 to the remainder. I mean, it wasn't even close. Because TAA didn't pass, TPA doesn't go to the president's desk. So John Boehner and the crew have decided to reconsider the TAA section. Guys, this fight is not over. TPA. And we have to hold our reps accountable to maintaining their vote on TAA. Period.
And I'll tell you what, Red Nation Rising, who's here on Thursday nights, 8 p.m., Radio Red Nation Rising. You can find them on Twitter. Go red-nation-rising- was it .com. They've been doing some great social media work, getting the word out there. Stephanie Scruggs for Coalition for a Strong America. Everybody out there, open up another browser. Don't get out of the chat room. Go to coalitionforastrongamerica.com. And you want to know something else? If you want to tie this all together and you don't want to be in positions where we're bending over and giving money to power-hungry executives, then I'll say it right now. Go to gohconservative.com and go check out Louis Gohmert's PAC. And these are not advertisements. These are public service announcements right now. Because honestly, Stephanie Scruggs with Coalition for a Strong America and Louis Gohmert's PAC, GOHconservative.com, right now for all the platitudes and what I see written and all the 16 people trying to gin up the base and the other idiots who are up for election trying to get everybody stoked up, those are the two places and organizations right now that are doing any kind of work. And they're doing it in conjunction with Red Nation Rising. And what are they doing? Stacey, you were doing it all, the message out there, right? Go vote.
Go vote. Not only that, it was very clear we have some very uninspired freshmen who've been caught up in the funding trap with the establishment because so many of them voted wrong. Guys, everybody we worked to vote in 14 is not listening. But I will tell you, we are having an impact. We actually heard back from the Hill that there were chiefs of staff in Washington who were feeling harassed because all of you guys got on the phone, called them and said, kill TPA, no TPP. And that's the kind of thing we still need.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Sorority girl Marie Harf here. Did I hear someone say freshman? Whose house is this? Oh, hi. Can I call a cab? And do you know where my panties are?
Okay, terrific.
Woo! Every Sunday is always okay, terrific. That was a whole hell of a lot of fun. Everybody, thank you so much for joining Stacey and I today on Bloody Marys and Broadsheets, your cure for your mainstream media hangover. Please join us again Tuesday nights here on K98 Talk, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Game On. We'll be back live Thursday night again, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and then Sunday morning again, 11 a.m., just like this with everything going on. Miss Stacey.
Yes, sir.
Tell the nice folks what you got coming up for them between now and Tuesday.
Little more activism around TPA and TAA, so watch my timeline, watch Red Nation Rising, and we're going to hopefully get this thing stopped.
And as always, JD will be doing what he's told. Everybody, thank you for joining us this Sunday morning. JD and Stacey.
When do you do that?
Talk. Oh, shush it. We'll see everybody Tuesday night.
If it's Sunday, it's Bloody Marys and Broadsheets.
We're your cure from your weekly news hangover.
Thank you for taking it easy with us. You can find our show account on Twitter at JD and Stacey, or send us your interesting news story of the week to Game On War, that's WAAR, @gmail.com.
And you can find me on Twitter at Scott's Fire and on Facebook at Stacey Lennox.
And you can find me on the Twitters at GameOnJD